School of AI.
Hello, welcome to AI Agents RAG and MCP 7-Day Builder Bootcamp teaser project by School of AI. I am Vivin Arana and I will be your instructor for this particular course. And we will start with this teaser project, which I call it as AI Chief of Staff, which is a free to watch. It will cover everything we will do in next 7 days. But I will not explain line by line. If you understand this project, you do not need to enroll in this particular course. We will build a production AI platform with multi-agent workflows, RAG, MCP style tools, evaluation, monitoring, fast API, and cloud deployment in this particular teaser project. So check it out, look at how we built this entire thing, and let me know how it goes. Again, let me share my screen to start with this project. So for this walkthrough, the user gives a goal like analyze the AI coding assistant market. The system will then create a plan, use multiple agents, search internal documents, use RAG, use MCP style tools, browse websites, analyze competitors, generate like an executive report, review the report, save the markdown and PDF reports locally, and show the results in simple dashboard. I'm going to go through step by step each of these, but of course I'm not going to explain in detail. If you understand what we are doing, you don't need this course. So what will you be using? We'll be using Python, Fast API, LangGraph, ChromaDB, Sentence Transformers, MyPDF, Playwright, MCP Python SDK, Report Lab, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, local files. And anyway, this and more, we will be looking into more detail and going through each and everything in more detail in rest of the 7 days. But as I said, this is just a teaser project, and the big picture for this teaser project is where the system works like an executive workflow. It takes user objective, chief agent, creates the plan. Then we have research agent that defines competitors and research questions. Then we have the knowledge agent that searches for the internal documents using RAG. We have the browser agent which visits public websites and extracts information. Then we have the analyst agent that scores and compares the competitors. We have the writer agent after that, which creates the executive report. Then we have the reviewer agent that will create, which checks quality. And then we'll generate a report using report generator, and this saves the markdown in PDF reports. And finally, we'll show the front end dashboard, which shows status and the final report. The workflow, in short, is objective, plan, research, retrieve, browse, analyze, write, review, save, and display. This is the entire workflow that our agentic AI system will build here. Now, what does this project teach us? This project combines the major components of an advanced AI system. So that's why we have multi-agent workflow design, task planning, RAG document search, vector databases. We'll look at embeddings, MCP style tool use, browser automation, market research automation, executive report writing, quality review, fast API backend, front end dashboard, local markdown report generation, and local PDF report generation. Now, I'm going to go through each and every step, but if you want to learn more on these, just enroll in the course and go through these 7 different projects that we are building during this course. But for this particular course, I'm going to run through all these things pretty quickly, write all the code, but I'm not going to go into explanation of that. If you understand what we are doing here, you'll know that you don't need to enroll into this course. If you don't understand, I would recommend taking this course and going with me step by step for the next 7 days. So I'm going to go ahead and close these. I don't need this right now. All I've done is I've created, as you can see, I've created AI Chief of Staff, and inside this folder, I don't have anything. So this is an empty folder that we start with. I'm going to go ahead and open a terminal here. So I'm using Visual Studio Code. This is what I'll be using for rest of the code, but you can use whatever you want. Next, I will go ahead and create some folders here just to have a folder structure. I have agents, apps, browser, data, frontend, MCP server, RAG, reports, test, and inside data I have created docs and outputs. These are the two folders that I've created. Next, I'm going to add some files here. I'm going to add readme.md, requirements.environment example, and run demo py. So I'm going to create these files. So I have all my environment example, readme created here. Now again, I'm not going to go into detail of these, what they do, but if you are interested, you can enroll in the course and I'll probably show you step by step of what these are and why they are used. But I'm going to fill up these files as and when we go here. So next step, Let's create a Python virtual environment. For that, I'm going to say Python 3 dash mv and the virtual environment name I'll keep the same as venv. Clear this. I know that I am not inside the virtual environment, so I'm going to say venv bin activate. Again, I'm not going to go through these commands. I expect you to know these. If not, I will explain it in the course in day one. Next, now that I'm inside the virtual environment and I know that I'm there, I'm going to install the dependencies that I need for this project. There you go. As I mentioned, we're going to learn a lot of things in this particular project or inside this entire 7 days. So I've added all those different requirements that I would need in this particular project: Fast API, UVCon, Python.env, Pydantic, LangGraph, LangChain community, ChromaDB, sentence transformers, PyMu Python.x, docx, pandas, playwright, MCP, report lab, and markdown. So we'll be learning all these things inside our 7 days, but I'm just going to go ahead and add those dependencies right now. It's going to take a few minutes to install this, so let's go and wait for it and then come back when it's installed. So now that everything has been installed, it took like 2 minutes to install it. Depending on how many you already have, it will take that much time. I'm going to go ahead and say playwright install. This will install playwright. This is needed for our browsers. Next, I am going to clear this out, and then first thing I want to do is inside my requirements, it's empty right now. I want to freeze all the requirements. So I'm going to say freeze, and inside I'll put everything in the requirements file. So what this does is this takes all the dependencies that we have installed just now and their dependencies and add it here. So I have 134 different dependencies that I've added. So that's awesome. So once I have this, our next step is to create the environment files. So I'm going to go ahead inside my environment dot example file. This is an example file. This is the actual production file that you'll be using, but this one is for just to give people an idea. So for us, inside this, I'm going to just add this. Now, model provider is Olama. Now, if you don't know about Olama, Olama is a service that is available. Olama model, this is the model that we'll be using. You can use any model that you want. Vector database path, where is our vector database saved, docs path, so and the output path. So I'm just giving an idea of where everything will be to the entire system, and these are environment variables. I'm going to copy them, also put them in .n file because they're exactly what I need. But you can always say, the model provider. You can always say model underscore provider. So the user, whoever is using this code, can change based on their preferences. But for me, these are the ones. So I'm going to set this and make sure these are available. Our next step is to understand the demo scenario. So in our demo, the objective is to analyze the AI coding assistant market, compare Codex, Claude Code, GitHub Copilot, IBM Bob, and Cursor, and find key capabilities, enterprise trends, risk, and recommendations. And we'll be generating an executive report based on that findings. So the scenario is useful because it allows the system to demonstrate inside the agents that we'll be creating will be doing planning, RAG, browser search, MCP style tools, multi-agent orchestration. We'll be doing report generation, and then we'll be reviewing the documents and creating a dashboard output for users. So let's go ahead and create like a sample internal document. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create some samples. So depending on what your organization has, I'm going to go inside, and inside docs, I'll create a file called as internal underscore AI underscore strategy dot py. Guess I renamed it strategy. Next file, I'm gonna actually add some text inside here, and the text is this is enterprise AI strategy, whatever some text that I've added. Next, I'm gonna create another file here. This file I'll name it as coding assistant market notes, and in here I will add some text about coding assistant market notes. So I'll create one more file here inside this. I'll call it enterprise AI risk notes, and inside here I'll add some risk notes inside, and I'll save this. Now these are available in the resources. If you want to run through the entire project or just these files, it will be available over there. Again, this one I named it py, but I wanted to name it just like other file, text file. So I have 3 files available. Now that my files are available, a next step is usually to create the app configuration. Now the config file reads values from your .env file. So for that, I am going to go inside app file, add a file here called as config.py, and inside this, let me walk through some code. Import the OS, import load dot environment from .env, and then I'm going to load the dot environment, call that function, and add my from my environment file these things. I'm going to load it into my code using these commands: os dot get environment, model, provider, olama, whatever values are there. I'll try to load them, and these are default values. Again, this is what I'm going to do inside my config file. Next, let's also create the fast API schemas. Now, these schemas define the shape of data going into and coming out of your API. So for that, inside app itself, I'm going to create schemas.py. And inside this, I will import the base model. Base model is used for our actual schemas, and then I'm going to create my task request, which has an objective which comes from the user of what the objective that we have right now for this particular project, AI chief of staff to do. And then task response, I'll create objective, plan, review, notes. These are the things that come out of the fast API. So that's all that we need for this. Now that we have created this, next let's go ahead and build our fast API app. So for that, in here I'm going to create main.py, and inside this I will start with importing all the required things: fast API, course middleware, task request, the agents.graph, report generator, which we'll be creating soon. But we have app.schemas. These, the graph, which is LangGraph, will be creating soon, and report generator will be creating soon. And again, I'm not going to go through this. We'll be going through this word by word, line by line inside our 7 days. Next, I'm going to create an app, the fast API app, call it the AI chief of staff. I'm going to add the course middleware here, make sure that it can access, the browser can access. Next, I'm going to create my endpoints, my home page where it can be accessed, the run, the actual processing of chief of AI. This is where it will be happening from the API. So that's all that will be adding to my fast API project. Next, let's go and build the agent state. Now, the agent state is shared data that is passed from one agent to another. Again, this is a multi-agent system that we're building, so we will be having multiple agents. For that, I'm going to start with creating inside agents the LangGraph file. So I'll say graph.py here, and inside this, first I will start the imports where I will type in different imports that I need, and then the LangGraph imports that I need. And then I'll create my chief of staff class, which has all the different things, all the different agents, and the flow that we need from objective to plan to research, RAG findings, browser findings, analyst, the report that we're creating, everything available in here. And that's all we'll start with. We'll update this more in future based on the agents that we create. But let's go ahead and build the chief agent first. So I'm going to go and save this. So to create the chief agent, I'm going to go inside agents and call it chief underscore agent dot py. And inside this, I'll create that function for the chief planner. This is the person, this is the class function that will be called first, where it will get the objective from the state, and then it will create a plan where break down the business objective, search internal knowledge base, collect the external market research, analyze competitors, generate the executive report, and review the report for accuracy and clarity. And then finally, I'll add this plan into the state object and return that particular state. So this is our chief agent. This is where everything starts. Next, we're going to build the RAG ingestion pipeline. Now, the ingestion pipeline reads the internal document that we have created and splits them into chunks, creates embeddings, and stores them in ChromaDB. So for that, I'm going to go inside RAG, create a file, and this file is called ingest.py. And inside here, let's start with importing OS, fits, ChromaDB, sentence transformers, and these are things that we need. If you again don't understand these, don't worry about it. We'll cover them in the future videos. Doc path is wherever our document path is, a database path where we want to save it inside data. Vector DB, it doesn't exist right now, but it will be created. Model, sentence transformer, this is the model that I want to use for embeddings. Then I'm going to create read PDF, and it will use fits again that we've imported to open the document. text, and then for page in doc, I'm going to go through each and every page here and get the text. Once I have that, I'm going to return the text. Next step is to chunk the text. So based on the text that we get and the chunk size, we can make sure that the words are split based on that, and we'll return the entire chunks based on the chunks that we've created in a list here. Next, I'm going to create the ingest document folder. Now this is function. This is the doc function that actually ingests the documents by first getting the persistent client, then get or create the collection it will create. Doc ID equal to 0 will start with 0 for the IDs, and then for each and every document that we have, we're going to go ahead and check if they end with PDF. I'm going to go and make sure, or if they end with text, depending on what it is, I'm going to read those files. Again, I have mostly text files here, not PDF files, so that's all we'll be reading in this particular case. I'm going to create chunks based on the text that we have, and in chunks I am going to embed them, create the embedding model. Next, I'm going to add into my collections the IDs, embeddings, documents, and metadata based on what I have found from these documents. Then I'm going to create increment the doc ID by 1 and then go through this loop again and again. Finally, I'm going to say print documents ingested successfully, and then this to run this code right away so we can see how it works. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. So this is our entire file. Now again, if you didn't understand anything, we're going to cover some of it in the future chapters, and we'll be looking at each and every line of code in the next 7 days. Now if you want to see how this works, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear this out here and then try to run this by saying python 3 and rag slash inspect ingest.py. That's where my file is. I'm calling that. It's going to go ahead and run this, go through this, take these files, create my vector database based on this, create the embeddings, and add it over there. And there you go, it started working and it's running through it, and you probably will see like a vector database folder being created here with the vector database in the ChromaDB format added over there. So documents were ingested and then created into chunks and then added into embedding. So that's perfect. Now that we got that running, let's build the rag retriever. So inside rag, I am going to create a retriever. So that is whatever we did was adding stuff in there, but now I want to fetch stuff from there. So and that's this retriever. This is what retriever does. Retriever dot py, retriever. So typo. Make sure that you don't have any typos, or else you'll have issues in the future. So once I have my retriever available inside here, I'm going to start importing our ChromaDB, then sentence transformers because we need to use the same model, database path where that path exists, and then load the same model that we've used to ingest. We need to use the same for retrieving. Then I'm going to write my retriever knowledge function. Inside that, again, I'm going to get connection to the persistent client wherever the database path is, get the collection from that, which was knowledge base. If you remember, we created the knowledge base here, so we have to use the same name here too. And then I'm going to create the embedding by saying model.encode query to list, depending on whatever the query is that we want to retrieve. Think of it as like a SQL query, and this is a database, so that's that query that I'm calling. And then from the collection, I'm going to run the query and get the results. And if you see here, I'm saying top K, this is top 5. If you don't specify it, I'm going to get the top 5 matching results from the database or from this particular embeddings that we have. Findings equal to empty, and then doc comma meta zip through results, and then results in metadata findings append source. So I'm going to make sure that all the findings are added from our embeddings inside here, and then finally return the findings to whoever called this particular query. So that's our entire flow. Again, if you don't understand, we're going to probably go over this in detail in next 7 days. So now that our retriever is done, next thing is we need to create our knowledge agent. Now the knowledge agent calls the rag retriever and saves the findings. So that's what will be called from here, agent. And in here, I'm going to call it knowledge underscore agent dot py file. And inside here, let me start importing the retriever knowledge that we've created. Next, I'm going to create the function knowledge agent and get the objective from there, get the findings from that retriever knowledge, and then set those for inside rag findings. I'm going to set the objective as a query and the findings as the results in here, and then finally return the state back. Make sure you save this file, and next we will build MCP style tools. So the MCP style tools are reusable functions that agents can call. Now in this version, the tools run directly as Python functions. So I'm going to go ahead and inside my MCP server, where is that? Is right here. I'm going to create a file and call it tools.py. And inside this, I'm going to import date time, I'm going to import OS and create a function to calculate scores. This takes in features, enterprise and risk, and then round them up by percentages like 40%, 40% and 20% depending on the weight, and that's what it will weigh the entire item with. Next, I'm going to say saves report. This saves the report in this particular folder, and exist equal, if exist okay equal to true, it will check for the existing of this function. Next, I'm going to say path equal to data output file name, create the file name for it, and then open that in the write mode and write the content inside that particular file. Then I'm going to say save to and pass the path back to whoever called the save report function. Next, also I've created the get current date, so I don't have to do this in every single file, as a utility function which gets the current date time, and that is helpful sometimes to just use that as a name of the file, so it's very unique based on when you create it. Next thing is to creating the MCP server. Now the server exposes your tools. This exposes your tools through an MCP server. This is useful for like teaching the for learning the MCP concept for you. So what I'm going to do is inside my MCP folder, I'm going to create an server.py file, and inside my server, I will start with importing fast MCP and calculate score, save report, get report from the previous file. Okay, this I didn't save that. Do that, and then I'll start my fast MCP server here, give it a name. I'm creating my MCP tool here. This is how you create MCP tools. The first tool is competitor score. Next tool that I'm creating is write report. Let me make it a little bit smaller here. Next one is MCP tool, that is current date tool, that gets the current date. And then I want to run it locally. Again, one of the things that you have to remember is if you want to run this server locally, and you probably know this already, I'm going to make sure that this is back. I create a new file here, underscore underscore init underscore, so I can run this as a package right now. You don't have to add anything inside here, just have that file available. So to run this, again, I am not going to go in detail of this because we'll be running in this in day 3, where we'll be creating MCP tools or MCP server. Now to run this MCP server directly from here, I can just say python 3 -m run is a module, and the name of that is MCP underscore server/server, not .py, actually MCP server dot, since I'm running it as a module, and it will run the MCP server right now. Now when you run the MCP server directly, it may look like nothing is happening. That is normal. The server is waiting for an MCP compliant client. Now for this project, your main app uses tool functions directly, so the MCP server exists so you can demonstrate how the same tools can be exposed to MCP clients if you want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and kill this here, clear it out, just to show you an example of how this works. Next, let's go ahead and create the browser runner. So the browser runner uses Playwright to visit a website and extract the visible text from there. So I'm going into browser, create a new file, web underscore runner. For the MCP that we just did, if you want to see a demo, you can probably look at day 3 and go through the entire project. And that's where we run this project and then use a client for that too, to see how you can connect to a MCP server or your own MCP server. Inside here now, inside web runner, I'm going to start with importing the sync playwright here from playwright, and then create a scrap page, and pass the URL to it. Now this will go to that URL using playwright, which uses the sync playwright function, and creates a browser Chromium launch. So this will open a Chromium browser headless equal to true, which means you'll not even see the thing open up. But if you set this to false, you'll probably see the browser open. It will create a new page inside the browser, and it'll go to that URL, have a 60,000 or 60-second timeout in there. Then I'm going to say title equal to page.title, get the title from the page that is loaded depending on the URL. So for example, if you say vivinarana.com, it will give me the page title of that website. Text equal to page.innerText, I'm going to get all the text from inside the body, and then I'm going to close the browser in this case, and then finally, whoever called this, I'm going to pass the URL, title, and text to that. So that's our entire browser runner that we have created here. Now that we have our browser runner available, to use this, let's create a browser agent. So I'm going to go here. Actually, you can put everything inside one single file, but I would recommend against it because this makes your code more readable and you know which function does what. And you can always easily change it. Like I'm using Chromium, you can use some other library that is available. I'm using Playwright, you can use some other library that is available. So it's completely up to you. Inside my browser agent, I'll go ahead and first import the script page that we just wrote. Then I'll define the browser agent with state. This function, I want three different URLs. As you can see, I'm getting URLs from Copilot, Anthropic Cloud Code, and Codex. These are three URLs that I'll be using. Findings is empty. For URLs in URLs, I'm going to go through each and every URLs, and then to this findings, I'm going to add the URL of that. Next, I'm going to check exception. If there's any issues, finding.append URL, what exception? Like let's say I gave the wrong website or something, it will add that exception over there. And then finally, to the browser findings, I'll add the source of findings that we find and then go ahead and return the state back. So the findings will be added inside the state, which we can document later. Once this is done, our next step is to build the research agent. Now the research agent defines the competitors and research questions. Now based on these competitors that are there, I can do some research using this research agent. So I'm go inside agents, create a new file, call it research_agent.py, and inside this I'll define a function research agent, and inside this function I'm going to get the objective first. I'll say state research equal to put the objective in there. The competitors that I want to research using are Codex, Code, Copilot, IBM Bob, and Cursor. And then I'm going to say research questions. What does each tool do? Who is the target audience? What enterprise capabilities exist? What risk or limitations exist? Which tool is strongest for enterprise use? And then I'm going to go ahead and return the state for this. So this is our entire research agent that will go research based on this. Again, you can customize this to however you want, and depending on when you're watching this, there might be much more tools available for you to use. Our next step is to building the analyst agent. So I'm going to go ahead and create an analyst agent which will do the analyst agent actually scores each competitor. Analyst underscore agent.py. And inside this, I'll first go ahead and import the calculate score that we have written in the MCP server before. Then I'm going to create the function of analyst agent where I'm going to say competitors is research competitors that we have provided before here. Next, I'm going to say analysis is empty. For competitors in competitors, so competitor in competitors, I'm going to say features equal to 8, enterprise 7, risk 3. Score equal to calculate score. Now based on the calculate score function, it will take features, the features that it has, enterprise. Now hard coded these values here, you can set up your own based on your own findings. And then analysis of competitor capability score, enterprise score, risk score, overall score, and summary. I'm adding that inside this part, analysis. And then I'm going to say state of analysis is this is the competitor analysis that I found, and then recommendations that I suggest. I have just hard coded these values, but again, depending on how you want to use the models, you can add that here and do more deep in progress analysis. And we'll learn more on this in the next 7 days. Finally, I'm going to return the state, save the file, and our analyst agent is ready now. Now that the analyst agent is ready, the analyst agent gives it to the writer agent. The writer agent combines everything into a more executive report because we need to pass it to an executive. So for this, I'm going to create a writer underscore agent dot py, and inside this, I'll create a function called as writer agent and get the objective, get the analysis, and get the RAG from the RAG findings, get the browser findings, and then create the report. So writer is just getting all the details from everyone and saying, okay, AI chief of staff, executive report, objective is objective, plan is the plan that you have, internal knowledge is kind of sorting out everything in a proper order. Internal knowledge findings, I'm going through that RAG results and reporting them and adding them to the report here, saying what is the source, what is the item content up to 500 characters. Then I'm going to say external browser research. Now for source in browser sources, I'm getting that data and adding it to the report here with the URL with the summary. Next, I'm going to say the competitor analysis. So depending on the different competitions that we have, name, details, analysis. What is my analysis? I'm adding that based on the data that I found, where the capability score, enterprise score, risk score, the overall score, and the summary of it. And then I'm going to create recommendations based on what I have in analysis. I'm going to put that recommendations inside recommendations. Now this report, I will give it, save it in the state by calling it draft report and return the state back to whoever called it. So now the writer's job is done here. Analysis was done before, he gave it to the writer, then it came it to the writer, and now before even submitting it to whoever requested this, we have to review this, right? So we'll create the reviewer agent which checks the report quality. So in here, I'm going to create another agent, call it reviewer underscore agent dot py, and inside this I'll create a function called as reviewer agent, and inside here I'll get the draft report from the state that was created by writer, and then put my review notes in here. So if objective not in report, if objective is not report, I need the objective. I'm saying that why is it not there, missing objective section. Next, I'm going to say if recommendation is not there, let's add the missing recommendation section. If length of the report is less than 1000, I'll say report may be too short. And then I'm saying not in review notes, report passed basic quality checks, which means this is good, so I can look at next steps. Then I'm going to create review notes and join my review notes that I have here as a reviewer, and then in my final report save the entire report back and return the state. So that is the reviewer's job. Again, you can add more requirements depending on your review requirements that you have based on what was created. So now that reviewing is done, let's connect everything with LangGraph. So I'm going to go back to graph.py. Inside here, first I'm going to go here and add all my imports, the chief planner, the research agent, knowledge agent, browser agent. The LangGraph needs to know everything because LangGraph, this graph file, is going to orchestrate everything. So I need to import all the different agents that I've created here. Next, I'm going to go ahead and create a function build graph equal to state graph chief graph, get create based on that, and then add different nodes to it, chief planner, add the nodes, or kind of tell what all different planners are available, or sorry, nodes are available, or agents are available. In this case, chief planner, research agent, knowledge agent, browser agent, analyst agent, writer agent, reviewer agent. Next, I'm going to set the entry point. Where do you enter it from the chief planner. That is the person, or that is the agent that will start the process. Next, I'm going to add edges. So how the chief planner does its job and gives it to the next one. So start with chief planner, then go to research agent. Research agent hands it over to knowledge agent. Knowledge agent hands it over to browser agent. Browser agent to analyst agent. Analyst to writer. Writer to reviewer, and reviewer goes to an end. So this kind of creates our entire graph for us. Next, I'm going to say return graph.compile. So this will compile the entire graph and put it together. Next, I'm going to create run chief of staff function. So this will run the first one where I'm going to say app equal to build the graph. Initial state, I'll set everything as empty or null or basic stuff except for the objective. So based on whatever we need when we run this. And then I'm going to say result equal to app dot invoke initial state, that will evoke this, and then return the objective plan review notes and the final report back to whoever called this run chief of staff. So that's our entire project here. I think I did not keep it properly. That will cause a problem. So make sure that is good. And this completes our entire LangGraph workflow. Now that this is done, let's go and build the report generator. So the report generator saves the final report. So we did everything. Final report is ready. Let's go and save them in both Markdown and PDF format. So let's go ahead inside the reports folder. I'm going to close all these and go to reports, create a new file. And this file, I'll call it report underscore generator dot py. So inside this, I'm going to create that generator code. So let me close all the other files, just have this available, and start with importing OS, import the letter from report lab page sizes, and import canvas from reportlab.pdf gen. And these are used for creating the markdown and the PDF files. Next, I'm going to create the save markdown report function, which takes the content and file name that you want to save. By default, I'm doing this, but you can edit it when you call this function. So I'm going to say os.make directory. I'm going to make this directory, get the path for the file name, write to open it in write path this particular file, and then write the content insert, and then return the path to whoever called this function. Next, I'm going to say save PDF report. In this, I'm going to create this as the default report name. Os make directory, make sure that directories are available, file name is there. Canvas, in this particular case, I'll have to use Canvas for PDF creation, and then width height equal to letter, y equal to height minus 400 based on the definition. And then in here, I am going to create the entire file and then add kind of content inside it and to the particular canvas and save the file. Next, I'm going to return the path based on once it's completed saving my PDF file. So that's pretty much it for this. Now, if I want to look at it running or the entire flow, let's go ahead and create a demo for us using run demo. I'm not going to run the fast API first, but run the CLI from my command line. I'm going to run this and show it. Again, I've not explained pretty much everything in here because we will be covering all these things in next 7 days, line by line, word by word, whatever we have written. But inside here, run demo right now. Let's go ahead and add some code. We'll start with importing the ingest documents function that we return. Next, run chief of staff, and then we'll get the save markdown report and save PDF report. Everything else is inside part of the graph, so we don't have to worry about importing them. And since we are running it from CLI, I'm going to say name equal to main, objective equal to analyze AI coding assistant market. Now, in this particular case, I'm not even asking the user, I'm hard coding it what my objective is, but I'll show you how you can change it later, and you can update it here too. And then I'm going to say ingesting internal documents. So first I ingest the documents that are available. Next, I'm going to say print running AI chief of staff. So we see step by step all the different things that we're doing. We're running the chief of staff, which will start the entire process inside our here run chief of staff. It will run this and it will call all of them step by step. Next, I'm going to say print saving reports and then save the reports. If you remember, we didn't add anything to save report. That's why I'm saying I'm calling this save markdown report here, final report, and then save PDF report. So both of them are saved. And then I'm going to print some additional details like AI chief of staff complete, objective was this, markdown report is available here, PDF report is available here, and review notes are being printed right over here. That's pretty much it for the entire thing. So now we can see this in action, whatever we did in last 30-40 minutes or so. Save this. I'm going to go here and say python 3 and the name of this file run demo.py, run it. I'm just going to go through these step by step and it will show me. So now it's ingesting the documents, right? So it's going through that. Now it's running the AI chief of staff, and then now it's going through the step by step, and finally it saved the reports, and then it told me where those reports are available. If I open this in my, wait, let me close this browser data inside my docs, it's saving, so not docs, inside my output I have, if you see, these two files available. Now I can open this here to see it. PDF is exactly same. I can reveal in Finder, and if you look at it, it has the entire report available right over. Report passed quality, basic quality checks. And if I look at the MD file, I have the markdown file here open, and you see it's exactly the same thing that is saved with all the research, all the report available over here. It also went and opened the browsers, all the URLs, and gave me information from based on those. It has all like from Claude Code, whatever it found, from OpenAI Codex, whatever it found, and it has from GitHub Copilot. So all that detail, it did that within a few seconds. It would take forever for us to do that. Now, if you want to try something else, you can always update your objective and based on that change your things. But I'm not going to go into that because I'm going to go into our next step, which is running the fast API backend. So this is through this, but now I'm going to clear this out, and I'm going to say uvcon app.main run the app inside that dash reload if there's any changes, and this will run our our fast API server. It will start ingesting again the documents, and then now we are ready to go ahead, and once this is done, I'll wait for it. I will go to browser, and here I'm going to say 127 8000. If you see a message AI chief of staff, now where is that coming from? That is coming from our MCP server. Where is my MCP server? Here, server tools, um, this, oh sorry, from our fast API, right? So here we have message AI chief of staff that is running. Next, I want to run this run thing, and that is available inside doc. Since this fast API, we have this available here. Inside here, I can go to the run and say try it out. And here objective, what is the objective? I can use the same objective as before, and then run here, analyze the AI coding, execute. It's going to run through the same steps and then go through all the different steps, execute, and then give me the final report right over here. I did not specify a special report name, so I think inside my data and outputs you'll see the same files, but the timestamps will be changed because they were just created right now. And you see it has the paths for those files available here. I can just change that to /1 or _1, and you can probably see those. But as you can see, we can successfully run it through the browser and have it available. Now that is cool, but what if I want to build a custom front end for that? So for that, I will close this and go to my front end here code. I'll create a new file, and I want to create HTML file in this case. So I'm going to go ahead and create HTML file. I'll add some HTML here, some basic HTML head. AI chief of staff is the header over there. Using a style, so I'm going to create the style.css in it. I'm giving a header, a text area, a button, and if I open this, I can actually show you reveal in Finder. If you look at without styles, okay, I did not save it. Without style, it looks something like this: status, final report, analyze. I'll add some styles to this, but before adding styles, let's go ahead and add the JavaScript to it. That is important. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new file. This is to this is more to create the front end JavaScript. So I'm going to call it app.js because I will be running it using this file. And inside here, I'm going to add some JavaScript async function run agent. And if you see, I'm calling that particular /run function from this UVCon that is running. So make sure that this is running at all times, because if I'm calling those post APIs and stuff, it needs to run there. Again, I'm not going to go each and every line here because we'll be doing that in next 7 days. You can check it out there. But this is my entire JavaScript here. I'll make sure I save this. And then the next thing that comes is styles, just to make the front end more pretty. I'm going to create styles dot or style, I think that's the name that I gave, CSS. And inside here, I will add some styles, not many, just 4 or 5 of them for body, text area, button, and for pre. So I have added these styles for that, so it looks good. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here, open a new terminal so I don't disturb that one. I can go to the front end folder here, and to run this front end folder as a Python file, since I have app available here, I'm going to say python3 -m http.server. That's the module that I'm running on port 3000. So I'm going to run that, and that is now running on my local host in 3000 port. So go back to my browser here, localhost 3000. If you see, it looks much prettier than what you saw before, just by adding like 4 different styles. Also, I've added this text here automatically, the same one that we did before. I can go back to my folder here and go to my data output, make sure these are deleted so you can see them being added again. So emptied them, and then I can just go ahead and say run AI chief of staff. It's going to run the different agents. It will show me the status here. It say, okay, shows the plan, shows me the review notes, shows me the final report that was created. Everything was done within a few seconds, as you can see here. You can go back here and then look at my output. They are created again. So this MD file and the PDF file was created again. So I hope we went through a lot of things in a very short amount of time, but don't worry about it. If you understood everything that we did here, you don't have to enroll in the course. This is good. You can download these resources, enjoy, play with them. But if you want to learn more on this, please enroll in our course. And in next 7 days, we'll be covering everything end to end for you. So I'll see you on day 1.